Welcome to MMT Chats. This episode brought to you by ISCAR with new ideas for machining intelligently.
I'm Christina Fuges with MoldMaking Technology, and I am here with PlastiVan Educator, Mark Wolverton. Hello,
Hi,
Mark.
Christina.
Welcome.
Hi, Christina. Thank you. It's great to be here.
So let's start off by giving everybody a little taste of who you are. So, briefly,
My
your
30-second
journey-
elevator?
Yeah,
okay.
Yes, into plastics and mold making.
Okay. Mostly in plastics and application development. I spent 45 years in a career doing plastic part development and materials development, application development, anywhere from airplanes and cars and computers and cell phones to medical devices and closures. So I ran the gamut through all the materials in the industry. I retired a few years ago, had a series of conversations with Eve Vitale, the director for the PlastiVan Group. She did the, why don't you come and become part of the PlastiVan Education program? And here I am.
And you can't let it go.
Not right now, no.
You have a passion for it.
I do have a passion
And the
for
industry needs that. We need people like you to bring other people in, right? Which brings us to
Yes,
PlastiVan.
PlastiVan.
So what is or who is PlastiVan? Let's talk about that.
Okay, PlastiVan is the educational outreach from the SPE Foundation.
Okay.
It's a program typically 45 minutes to 60 minutes long that we take into schools anywhere from elementary through high school to talk about the technologies, chemistry, physics, history, applications, and social responsibility in the plastics applications in our lives.
What's the setup in this van?
Well, it's not a van anymore.
Okay.
It used to be 4 vans that were located around the country. Those became too expensive to keep. We've all put it in our kits now that it's a couple of totes.
Okay.
So we bring in a self-sustaining education program that we've reviewed with the teacher before we bring it in to make sure that it fits in their curriculum. And then we come in, take over the class. They need an 8-foot table and the kids and the teacher in the room to make sure that we don't do anything wrong.
What could you possibly do wrong?
Well, let's not go there.
All right, so where do you think, or how many schools have you, I guess, visited since you started PlastiVan?
It's been a tough couple of years because I only started with them about 2.5 years ago.
Oh, good timing, Mark.
Yeah, great. And I hit, in my first year, I hit about 15 schools directly.
Okay.
And then a couple of other school-related events, fairs and science fairs and things like that. COVID, we, with Eve's direction, pivoted from PlastiVan in person to PlastiVideo, which is a remote access series of videos that take up one section of the PlastiVan program to carry it through so that the teacher could break it down. And we get the teacher 60 days of access to that program.
What do you mean, what's one section of the program?
Well, for instance, when you're in person, you can cover an awful lot and tie in history plus chemistry plus physics plus stuff all kind of in a pattern. Okay. Whereas when you're doing it on video, you really need to break out. So if you were going to do a history module, you might talk about Staudinger, and then you might talk about Carruthers, and then you would talk about Kowalik and those kinds of things. If you're going to talk about recycling, you talk about reduce, recycle, reuse. Then you might talk about single versus multiple stream reclamation. Then you talk about reprocessing. They talk about social responsibility. You can carry that forward through too. So we had to break. We found that it took about.
So it's almost like modules.
It is
right?
It's exactly the word. It is modules.
Okay, it's a module. What would you say is the most, what module or what part of the curriculum gets the kids excited the most?
Anything hands-on. Okay, so when we can give them a hands-on experiment, and in PlastiVan we do a couple of demonstrations, we do a couple of hands-on experiments. One of the demonstrations to get their attention at the beginning of the day might be flash paper. Okay, part of the reasons I wear these Mardi Gras beads, is that these are used in my classes as models for monomer versus polymer.
Nice.
To give the kids a little bit of a sense. One of the exercises we'll do is to create a slime from polyvinyl alcohol and borate. We also carry that through touch the outside of the bowl when you make that. It's cold. Okay, that tells you that it's an endothermic reaction, so we're reinforcing fundamental chemistry. We will pour a 2-part polyurethane foam, and that will liberate heat as an exothermic reaction. And we give them that practical experience.
I love it, the touch and feel.
The touchy-feely, okay? We do some other things as well, a little flash paper to get their attention if the beads don't do it. And then the tour de force where we pierce a balloon.
Okay, let's do that. Let's
you want to do that?
Balloon.
Well,
I've heard about this.
There's one for you.
Okay.
All right. There's one for me.
Okay.
And here is a bottle of average everyday hand lotion that probably got pilfered from.
I need some of that.
Well, you can have this when we're done. Okay, and here is your skewer, and here is mine. Now, after we dip the point of our skewer into the balloon, and as we do this with the kids, we blew up the balloon, pardon me, from a small, and we stretched it.
Okay.
So when you look through the balloon, you can tell it's been stretched in this direction a lot.
Yep.
Because it became transparent, but it hasn't been stretched down here next to the knot so much.
Right.
So if you were going to get stuck, do you want to be tense, you want to be relaxed?
I want to be relaxed.
Exactly. So come in here next to the knot and press and spin and press and spin. And if we get it right, and pressing and spinning, yeah, me too. So these balloons are tough.
I'm scared.
And then you look like one of the teenagers in my class. Okay, then on the opposite end, there is a dimple where the balloon was formed, and you come out to the relaxed polymer next to the dimple, and you press and spin again. Press and spin again, press and spin again.
So next to the dimple.
Yeah, next to, not in the dimple, but next to it, okay? And eventually, it goes through. There you go.
I can't believe I didn't pop it. All right, now explain that again to me. Why that?
Why? Well, I didn't bring the model for this, okay? But when you look at the polymer chain, okay, in a balloon, they are all tangled. You know, we have that bowl of spaghetti model.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Now the one that I have is a little rigid. It was made by an extruder.
Okay.
And then we can take another skewer and then demonstrate that by pressing and twisting, we allow the skewer to find the free space between the molecules without breaking it. And again, the kids are like, I want to be able to do this for the next family dinner.
Exactly.
And you say, okay, this is where you get your supplies to do it. But they've also got the lesson of how it worked and why it worked.
I love it.
Yeah.
So I would imagine this has just been a success.
It's a lot of fun. Okay, yes, I can't. It's hard to quantify the success. I mean, when we're talking about business success, everybody wants a measurable. We hit between 25 and 30,000 students a year.
That's incredible.
Which is only a drop in the bucket. Okay.
Do you have a particular success story, like a child that it touched them, and maybe you followed them a little bit? So did they go on with?
We actually, one of our other educators, one of the members of the foundation and PlastiVan group, is a sort of PlastiVan success story in that during his high school, he was reached out by a group, a science seminar group out of downtown Detroit. Okay. After he finished his college degree, he came back to help that group out, and Eve recently hired him as a full-time employee of the foundation.
See that? That's a good
Evan
one.
Morton. Yep.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's the point of it all.
Capturing
them,
capture them,
and then releasing them out into the plastics world, right?
And you know, I haven't had so many yet that I have any one student that I followed. I mean, he would never know this, but it was Mel Cohan from DuPont, who would be, if you will, the second father of nylon after Wallace Carruthers, that came to a science seminar after school for me in high school. And he showed us how to pull nylon 6,6 filament out of hexamethylene and adipic acid. I thought it was just the coolest thing, all right? My dad was in metallurgy, so that when I declared a polymer option and moved away from steel, I was dismissed from the family for a short period of time. So it was.
I like that. That's the best of both worlds, really.
It was a lot of fun. Yeah. And then we've had a lot of fun as siblings.
That's great. So tell me, and people watching, whether they're a mold builder, whether they're a molder, whether they're a school, a parent, how do they get involved in helping grow this?
Well, the easiest way is to go to www.plastivan.org. Okay, you can see the program and the execution for it. You can reach me through email right there, or by phone. We would really appreciate nominations for teachers and schools. okay, whether it's part of your family or somebody that might be part of your family, nieces, nephews, kids, grandkids, whatever, anybody.
Exactly.
And then of course we really need sponsorship, whether it's a day sponsorship for $1,750, and if that's too much for your company to afford, we'll find a way to share that with a local SPE section. Or if you really have some big pockets and you want to become a national sponsor and get your logo on all of our uniforms, that's $50,000 a year. We'd be loving to talk to you about that.
No, and that's a great call out because we need that, and it's a great cause.
If it wasn't for the generosity of Braskem and the other sustaining sponsors, Automotive Division, Detroit Section, many of the other big donors, we would not have been able to put together PlastiVideo during those bad times of COVID.
There you go.
And so they gave us permission to use those monies. Plastic Pioneers also contributed an awful lot to getting that done.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Mark. It's been fun and informative. So thank you for sharing all that information about PlastiVan. I do have, before I let you go, we have these t-shirts.
Oh, cool.
All right, I'm going to give you one, but what I want you to do is answer one more question for me. I want you to fill in the blank. We say #molds make a difference. What does Mark say? Molds make?
Make it all possible.
Make it all possible. There you have it. Molds Make It All Possible by Mark Wolverton of PlastiVan. For everything mold making related, visit moldmakingtechnology.com.